Hello, we see the war between Russia and Ukraine increasingly having a serious global impact. Experts at international financial institutions have warned that war that disrupts global trade could push millions into starvation, trigger food crises and long-term damage to the economy of poor countries. The upheavals were evident from the default in Sri Lanka to deadly unrest in Peru. Both President Joe Biden and former President Barack Obama said that Russia accounts for less than 3.3% of the world's total economic output and the effects of Russia will not be severe. But the truth is that although Russia's economic output is not so great, Russia plays a huge role in some very important areas, and so the war between Russia and Ukraine has caused trouble for the world. Let's see. The first is energy. Last year, Russia was the world's largest exporter of natural gas, the second largest exporter of crude oil, and the third largest exporter of coal. The country also enriches more uranium for use in nuclear power plants than any other country in the world. When the war broke out, Russia's energy resources on world markets had shrunk amid sanctions and disarray, sending oil, gas, and coal prices up. Higher energy costs drive up the price of almost everything produced or shipped, from cement to cosmetics, which in turn creates potential political problems around the globe. Within 2 weeks of the invasion of Moscow, the spot prices of the two benchmark crude oils have increased by 20% and 34%, respectively. In the US, where crude oil accounts for more than half of retail gasoline costs, pump station prices have hit record highs. Besides, Europe, which buys 74% of Russia's gas exports in 2021, has been hardest hit. European countries, especially leading economy Germany, are struggling to find a way to punish Moscow with a gas embargo without damaging their economies. Meanwhile, in the United States, the price of natural gas has more than doubled, to the highest level since 2008. Americans' electricity bills have also increased as gas accounts for 40% of domestic electricity production. The price of uranium has also increased by more than 30% in the 3 weeks since the war began, and no one can replace Russia's role in this complex supply chain, at least for many years. The second is about agriculture. Russia is the world's top wheat exporter for 2021 to 2022 and a major producer of key ingredients for fertilizers. Russia is also the world's second largest exporter of sunflower and safflower oils, which are important ingredients in the food industry. Global food prices have reached high levels as the war in Ukraine severely affected the supply of cereals, vegetable oils, and fertilizers. According to United Nations data, average food prices in March rose 34% year-on-year, the fastest rate in 14 years. Millions of people could fall into starvation, especially in the Middle East and Africa. As for fertilizers, Russia is the world's largest exporter of nitrogen gas with 16.5% of global supply in 2018 and the third largest exporter of both potassium and phosphate. Ukraine is a major exporter of these chemicals, and now fertilizers are becoming more expensive and harder to buy due to a combination of Western sanctions and Russia's retaliatory export ban. Limited supply has resulted in prices in some markets increasing by 5 times. The third is high-tech goods and services. Russia mines about 37% of the world's palladium, a key ingredient in both computer chips and electric car batteries. Russia also accounts for about 11% of global nickel, another important input for EP batteries. Both Russia and Ukraine supply other chip-making materials, including 40% to 50% of the world's semiconductor neon gas, a byproduct of the steel-making process and used to make lasers to print electrical circuits onto silicon. The Ukraine war won't immediately affect electronics production because companies have stockpiles, but chances are that in the next few years you'll have to buy phones and tablets at a much more expensive price. Fourth is metal. Russia is the third largest steel exporter in the world, and both Russia and Ukraine are the world's largest sellers of pig iron. The United States, the world's largest pig iron buyer for many years, receives 2/3 of its iron imports in 2021 from these two countries, and Russia is also a major exporter of cobalt and copper. Currently, Russia's metal exports are threatened by war and an economic downturn that have pushed prices to record highs. The price of hot-rolled coil has increased by nearly 250% compared to just before the pandemic. The price of rebar is similar. According to a report by the Wall Street Channel, the price of iron and steel has nearly doubled since the war broke out. And finally, air and global shipping. Russia accounts for 15 to 20% of global titanium production. Titanium's special properties, such as being light but very strong, able to withstand high temperatures and resisting corrosion, make it popular not only in the aerospace industry but also industries ranging from medical implants and surgical equipment to chemical processing and parts for industrial plants. Due to the war and embargoes, the titanium supply is now scarce, and the price is pushed up very high. In addition, Russia also closed its doors to aircraft from dozens of countries in retaliation for Russia's flight ban. As a result, international airlines, already suffering from high fuel costs and falling demand during the pandemic, now have to fly around Russia, making the already high costs many times higher. Airlines have to spend nearly $50 million more per week to fly around Russia. In short, the war not only afflicts Ukraine-Russia but the whole world, and all the costs and burdens arising from the war are borne by the people of all countries. Thank you for watching the video. Goodbye, and see you again.